Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's time for another quick little update on the TransAm. I've done quite a few things to it since I've been going. I wanted to share that with you. One of the first things I'll show you that I've been up to is I cleaned the heck out of the carpet in the interior and put some seat covers in it. I kind of like the seat covers. I felt like they went with the color scheme of the interior. And you're probably wondering how I got the carpet looking so clean when it was so nasty before. And I started off with this vintage can of Woolite self-cleaning rug cleaner that you just spray on and vacuum up. The reason I say vintage is because if you well, of course my camera's going to refuse to focus, but if you look close, the can says 1987. It's been sitting in my family's pantry for decades. And what I used to finally get the carpet looking as good as it does, instead of all stained up, was some gray vinyl and fabric spray dye. That helped out a lot. Car doesn't look nearly as nasty when you open the door now. Still haven't really cleaned the dash or the center console, but I'll get around to that. I vacuumed out the trunk area, but I didn't spray dye it. I figured, you know, it's just a trunk for carrying stuff. It's not as important to clean this as it is to clean the interior. Looks a lot better though. Another thing I did was cut all the old crappy single exhaust out from under the car and put some short dual pipes on the thing that I made up from pieces of stuff in the parts store and the exhaust aisle. I'll give you a quick glimpse of that if I can. It sounds pretty close to open headers, and I might add some mufflers to it later on. I might not, we'll see. I like the way it sounds even though it's a little bit loud. It runs a lot better now than it used to with that old butchered up Y pipe. I don't know if I told all you guys or not, but the guy that I bought the car from, either him or the previous owner, had cut the Y pipe up so that he could get to the starter, and there was just a few inches of pipe after each manifold. It's got a little bit more pipe now and some turn downs, as you can see. I'll include some pictures of the setup that I made before I put it in so you can see what I'm talking about. I like the way turn downs change the sound of a car, kind of making it echo off the pavement a little bit. But yeah, the car runs a whole lot better now since I've put a little bit of extra pipe on there, and those turn downs, the exhaust, I guess, is tuned a little better, you could say. I've been driving the car a little bit, but not too far from the house because it's not registered or anything like that. And I gotta say, for a car that's only rated at 140 horsepower with an automatic transmission, it's pretty quick. I would even go so far as to say it's underrated a little bit, because I don't think anything with 140 horsepower and an automatic this size could do any sort of burnout at all, but it can, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. Definitely going to do a burnout or two for you before this video is over, so stay tuned. Next thing I want to show you is how the engine compartment has been cleaned up a little bit. Me and Dad came out here with a shop vac and some rags and some degreaser and cleaned the motor up as best as we could. Not like you can really reach the motor itself past all these emissions hoses and stuff, but we got it looking a lot better. You can probably tell compared to previous shots that I've painted the air cleaner assembly flat black. I would have gone with gloss, but it had some pitting along the top from being, you know, neglected and wet for years. Me and Dad also taped this little panel up right here and painted it flat black because it was rusty. And I can see why it was rusty now, because it likes to collect water when it rains. It just rained a few minutes ago. But yeah, cleaned up the engine compartment a lot. It looks a whole lot better in here. Unfortunately, the yellow Optima that came with the car wouldn't hold a charge, so I had to go get this used battery from the scrapyard. But it's working. Car's running pretty good. Really looking forward to showing you guys that burnout. Just gotta wait for the 5 o'clock traffic to die down out here. Haven't gotten the AC working yet, but the system is holding pressure. It's not leaking, and the fan does work, so I'm thinking that after I get it charged, it'll probably start blowing cold air again. At least I hope so. Another thing I did for the car that I want to show you guys is front sway bar bushings. There were none left on the car. I was about to say the ones that were left on the car were rotted, but they were literally rotted so bad that they fell off probably years ago. But I'm not sure if you can see those or not. I'll check later when I edit the video, but I put some red polyurethane sway bar bushings on there that used to be on a old project car of my buddy's that I was kind of scrapping stuff off of after I bought it from him. It was just a Honda Prelude. You guys know I'm not into that tuner junk. So yeah, I put some red polyurethane front sway bar bushings on the car, and that cleared up all the clunking noises in the front end. It used to make little clunking sounds when it would go over bumps, and that was the sway bar end link bolts bumping around inside of the sway bar. That's all taken care of now, so no more nasty noises when you're driving around. Speaking of nasty noises, why don't we crank it up and hear that new dual exhaust? Careful not to dirty up this carpet. Of course the choke's on, so it's going to be idling fast until it warms up. Unfortunately, the tach doesn't work either. Oil pressure gauge does though, and that's what's most important. Alrighty guys, I got one more thing I want to show you before I go. I've been planning to keep it a little bit of a surprise until I can actually show it to you, because I'm kind of excited for it, so here goes. And there it is guys. I'm super excited, not just a little excited, and really happy to have this new welder. My mom and her boyfriend Dewey picked this thing up for me. They've been talking about getting me one for a while. Dewey's a really cool guy. He's the dude that gave me the Mustang over there, and my Ford pickups, which I am halfway through fixing up. You guys, if you're not new to the channel, you've seen the videos of me fixing up the red truck. Dewey's the guy that gave that to me. So yeah, thanks a million, Mom and Dewey. Really appreciate this. I've been needing a welder for a long time. Like I told some of my subscribers that I talk with outside of YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and unbox this thing now so we can get an idea of what's inside. And it's such a... I don't want to say that it's big and badass, but it is such a big badass welder that it's going to need a 220 outlet. and me and Dad are gonna hook up the 220 outlet because he's got some minor electrician experience, just enough to be dangerous and useful at the same time. So I'm sure that'll be an adventure, hooking up a 220 outlet with Dad. But in the meantime, until I can get this thing hooked up and usable, let's unbox it and see what's inside. Kind of hard to do this through a camera lens. Still not used to working through a camera, so I apologize if I give you guys bad shots once in a while. Sorry about the fingers there. Got some good old instructions. A quick start guide. I'm definitely going to review this off camera. Not going to waste you guys' time with it. Looks like the handle for the unit right there. Well, let me do this with two hands. I'll get back to you. Well, there we have it. A Chicago electric welder. Not the cheapest one they make either, which I'm really glad to have. I've been looking at some super cheap little pieces of junk for a while, thinking about buying them for myself. I'm really glad to see that it comes with a mask. There's the eyepiece for it right there. At least I'm pretty sure that's the eyepiece. And it's got a wire brush for prepping surfaces. Came with some wire. Of course, you can't weld without the wire. I don't know what this thing's for, but I'll find out. Looks like a pretty nice unit, to be honest. Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to using this thing. I can't wait till me and Dad get that 220 outlet hooked up so I can start practicing with it. Well, there is the general unboxing. Oh, I just realized this is the handle for the mask. Can't really put it on there with two hands, but you see how it goes on. One hand, not two hands. But yeah, once again, I know you're watching. Thanks a million, Mom. Thanks a million, Dewey. I really, really appreciate this. You guys are awesome. You've done so much for me lately with the project cars and the welder and the big tool sets and stuff like that. Love you to death, Mom. And thanks a million, Dewey. You'll be my friend for life. So yeah, that wraps up today's episode. I got the welder unboxed. I showed you guys the progress on the TransAm. I hope you enjoyed the burnout. It wasn't as smoky as I hoped it would be, but it was definitely breaking traction. Like I said before, 140 horsepower my ass. That's more like 200 horsepower. I've driven enough cars to know. You're not going to get a car this size. Not that it's that heavy, but you're not going to get a car this long and... get away, bug. This long and of this girth, I guess you'd say, to burn out with 140 horsepower and an automatic. It's definitely got more juice than 140. But yeah, that wraps up today's episode. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Really appreciate your viewership. Like, subscribe, scream at me in the comments, all that good mess. Till next time, have a good one.